Hello, my friends. It is September 14th, 2004. I'm Alex Jones, your host. We have my good friend Jack Blood, syndicated radio broadcaster of jackblood.com, joining us tonight. Before we get into the news, for those that have been nationally and internationally watching this broadcast, this show, you know about the fight down here where this show originates from, the attempts by the board of directors to annihilate the First Amendment, to take our shows off of some of the channels, to restrict free speech. We've won a major battle. They're now withdrawing that for the time being. They say in the next few months they'll probably bring it back up. Right before this show began, there was a program on, if you were watching it live, there was a program before that was put on by the National Department of Education, basically to bring in federal money and take over these channels. And we have been fighting very, very hard just to maintain this free speech here. All over the country, we see the First Amendment being scrapped, European-style hate speech laws being implemented. It's a nightmare. But tonight we're going to get into the issues that we always cover, what the New World Order is up to, how they're destroying your liberties, now people are fighting back. Jack Blood, for those that just joined us, tell folks a little bit about yourself. And then I want to get into the Zogby poll, where half of New Yorkers, in a very respected poll, believe the U.S. government was behind the 9/11 attacks. Then I want to get into some of the police state news.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a syndicated radio host on 2 to 4 Central Time out of Texas. Nice bunker we have down here. Hopefully they don't come down and nuke us all. That would be seriously damaging to the cause. No, Alex, I've been fighting the New World Order for several years. I've been a freedom activist for over a decade. One of the things, and I have to hand it to you, I really learned that this isn't about myself or my family. This is about all of us. And I think it's important for all of you out there and my listeners and your listeners to understand that one action on behalf of yourself helps every one of us, and that's really, really important. So that's what I've committed my life to. I made many sacrifices in order to fight this fight, and it's really important. And what I found is that we are keeping them back. We are towing the line just incrementally. So as they are fighting us incrementally, we are fighting them incrementally, and piece by piece, bit by bit, like this ACTV thing, we are winning the battle. Even if we don't gain any ground, just not losing any ground, Alex, to me, is winning the battle.
And Jack, you've been a successful rock band guy. You've had radio shows all over the country. You've run major radio stations, networks, and now you've researched the New World Order over the last 5, 6, 7 years. You've gotten involved in this fight. I know I've heard you talk. It's been very rewarding for you spiritually, psychologically, mentally, and it's good to have you here with us tonight. There's a lot of news here we want to go through, a lot of different issues and topics that need to be discussed. But I started the show last week talking about the Zogby poll, and I want to start this show again talking about the Zogby poll, but getting your take on it, because I've done over 1,600 radio interviews, my own unofficial poll, liberal conservative stations, and 1 out of 30 callers disagrees with me when I say the U.S. government carried out 9/11. That's in every state of the union, every talk station basically that exists. I've been on it. And that the mainstream media creates this illusion that the people aren't waking up, that we're by ourselves, that we're kooks. But this new Zogby poll, most highly respected polling agency in the world, does a poll statewide in New York, and they found something very interesting. Your take on that?
Well, I mean, that's just a small microcosm on what's going on the planet in general, in this country as a whole. They polled New Yorkers, 50%, almost 50%, Alex.
49.8.
Yeah, as most people know, say that there was prior knowledge and that this administration did nothing to stop the attacks on 9/11.
Specifically, were involved and helped it happen.
And 60% believe that the commission, the omission, was a whitewash. So, I mean, that's very telling. And this wasn't just the liberal side of New York. There was the upstate, the conservative side of New York as well. So it was a good, I think, round picture, slice of American pie, so to speak. And I think if you took that poll nationally, I'd love to see that poll. I believe we'd see some similar numbers.
Yeah, New York is where it happened. So half of us are kooks and crazy weirdos. With the Kennedy assassination, 92% in major polls believe the U.S. government carried out 9/11. So in a few years, we're seeing an acceleration of things. The majority will believe, already the majority, but half. But in the future, I'm saying 75, 85% are going to know the truth there. So
Hey, I have a new survey here. It found that most people don't trust the federal government to take care of them during an attack, and that many would take matters into their own hands, even endangering themselves and their family. Well, that's the slanted lean of this new survey. 2/5 of those surveyed would follow instructions and go to a public vaccination site. That means 3/5, in other words, roughly 60% of us, wouldn't go to the vaccination center to get vaccinated. So again, I mean, we're mind by mind that is being opened up, person by person. We are, I believe, getting our numbers.
I'm glad you brought that up. There is no law to be vaccinated in any of the 50 states. But in Central Texas and nationwide, they ran ads saying it's the law, you got to do it, you'll be arrested. Folks, that's not the law, it's not true. What about a media and a government that would lie about vaccination? By the way, I've talked to Dr. Geyer and others who work for the Congress. They've increased the level of mercury, not taken it out, and that's just the mercury issue, not the cancer virus issue. Any comments on the vaccines?
Bottom line, I want to say this. If there's going to be another attack in this country, another attack, okay, it's going to be a biochemical attack, which is going to give the government the right to quarantine us, put us in camps, shoot to kill if we escape, and then take forced vaccines.
They're openly saying that.
They are openly saying it, and this is probably, I mean, worse than airplanes hitting buildings, worse than a nuclear attack, worse than all of these things is this dreaded biochemical attack that they say is coming. And that is going to, again, quarantine us. They have the right to shoot to kill. In fact, this is on 24, Alex. I'm sure you would appreciate the TV show 24, how the government is good, torture is good, how we go along doing these sting operations, working with terrorists in order to catch the terrorists. So bottom line is, I mean, this is the one thing that I think we have to defend ourselves against.
Absolutely. Getting back to free speech, whether you agree with somebody or disagree with them, you should agree with their free speech. In Pennsylvania, they're arresting pastors that go to city council meetings and their 3 minutes of citizens' communication and criticize homosexuals. Well, next it's going to be your right to protest Bush or Kerry. Well, that's already being eroded as well. And it goes back to Access TV. This is part of a pattern. Indianapolis, Indiana, Denver, Houston, last 2 months, they're shutting access down everywhere. They're trying to do it here. We've stopped them for now, but they're pretty arrogant. They're going to try it again in 3 months. They've admitted. So this is very, very important. And human history is governments abusing and enslaving populations. And they can't stand to have us here warning you and discussing these facts. I would encourage everybody to become as informed on real political issues as you are in the football game with the latest cosmetic application to your face. If this doesn't happen, you're going to lose your freedom. Your children are going to lose their freedom. Those that aren't involved become slaves. And it's happening right now. The classical signature or paradigm of tyranny is taking place. And we're simply chronicling this.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, look, I got an article right here, Alex. Justice Department probes mistake in the Mayfield case. The Mayfield case is Brandon Mayfield. He was the lawyer from Oregon who was charged with being involved in the 311 Madrid case. So if anyone wants to debate that the Patriot Act is not being used to take away our liberties, here's another case. Now, here's something you'll find interesting, is that the Patriot Act, passed a few weeks after September 11th, includes a provision authorizing the Inspector General to review any complaints about civil liberties or civil rights abuses involving the Justice Department personnel. The latest report, which is now out, spanning the time between December 16, 2003, June 21st, 2004, we have found 1,613 complaints regarding the Patriot Act.
Now, we scan the news wires as part of our jobs. I do 3 hours a day. How much do you?
2 hours a day plus all the extras, yeah.
And every day, man caught with ounce of marijuana charged as terrorist, given life. Person speeding charged with Patriot Act. Nightclub owner who paid $4,000 to get more parking spaces to county commissioner charged as terrorist. Every day we see this. And the Justice Department and state prosecutors have gone to the Congress and said, yeah, we're using it. And they say, we're going to fight terror and crime, terror and crime. Cheney said that. It has nothing to do with terrorism. And why do they want to put us all in prison? Because the very interests that carried out 9/11, the very interests that were involved in September 11th, they own the private prisons. And you better wake up and realize this. They own the security companies that put up the security cameras in your neighborhood. They own it. They're shifting the whole economy into their control.
Prison industrial complex, intelligence industrial complex. Did you see Wackenhut was one of the people guarding there on New York City for the convention? They have Wackenhut employees. And, at one point when George W. Bush's motorcade was going through, the night he was speaking, we were locked out. We couldn't get into the press entrance of the convention. And I was asking all the police officers, what's going on? How can I get in? I got to get in there. Nobody knew anything. They were all so compartmentalized, Alex, that they can only tell you, go to this corner, go to this place. Finally, I got down to the corner, and I asked a few Wackenhut employees what was going on. They knew everything. They knew exactly what was going on, when it would be over, and told me, how to act accordingly. And what does that tell you?
The whole economy shifting to mercs, or mercenaries, private contractors.
Yeah.
And I just hope that everybody's listening to what we're saying. Here's some examples of this. Without getting into the whole encyclopedic background, the Russian government's carrying out these terror attacks. They've been caught doing it. It's mainstream news. And the latest attacks come out was their doing. All staged. They kill a bunch of people. Their special forces slip out the back door. Out of this, Gerhard Schroeder, the head of Germany, the chancellor, says we're merging our military with Russia. Russia's merging with NATO. A few months ago, I watched a show and saw it re-air a few weeks ago on C-SPAN, the Pentagon's new map, where the Pentagon says we're merging with Russia and China. The attack is on the individual to set up a police state. And they openly, I'm interviewing Thomas Barnett tomorrow on this, on my radio show. So this is what they're doing. But Schroeder and Putin declared joint fight against terrorism. And then Russia's coming out with their own color coding system, their own FEMA regions. This is global government.
Oh, we rejected the color coding system here as it was precedented in CAPS 2. Again, this is part of, folks, I don't know if you get out there and you count the single victories. If you did, we need this inspiration. We do. So CAPS 2, Alex, with TSA, where we were going to be color-coded, which was going to set a precedent in this country where everywhere we go, we could be color-coded as to what kind of a threat we are to the government and, of course, what kind of security we would need there.
And Governor Ridge, I saw him 2 years ago before he even got funding for Homeland Security, caught issuing fake terror alerts for political gain. They said that you're going to have a special, your driver's license will be a federal national ID card, already is, and we're going to have, if you have bad credit, you get a yellow rating and got to go sign up for a work detail to pay off your debt with the federal government. I mean, this is debtors' prisons.
Oh, you better believe it. Everything that I see, Alex, is lining up to where your credit establishes what kind of a citizen you are, what kind of a contribution you are. And that all goes back to the UCC code where they have a certain amount of money on our head. That's why, for our safety, folks, they want us to use our seatbelts. They want us to wear helmets while we're riding our bicycles.
It's all excuses to get involved and set up checkpoints in their own federal. And look, former KGB head helped spawn Americans. UPI first reported on this 2 years ago. Charlotte Iserby, the former deputy head of Department of Education, got the documents, and it gets into how they fired Primakov, the former KGB general, to help consult on setting up Homeland Security. Oh, the KGB's helping.
Yeah, I don't understand how Americans can't assimilate that, but again, they're too busy. I mean, I don't want to condemn people that want to watch football. Football's okay, but learning all the stats and consuming your whole life with these details when this is right in your face, it's ludicrous.
The old-timers read 7277 and other State Department documents and said, how are we going to merge with Russia and bring Russian police here? How is this going to happen? This is crazy. They got the documents. Well, cease to fight terror. NATO, Russia to boost anti-terror cooperation. So think about that long and hard. Now, I have this article here, Jack, and some people say, well, it may not make sense in the context of all of this, but 480-pound woman dies after 6 years on couch. Now, this is America. The elephant in the living room. Well, this is the poor woman in piles of her own excrement for 6 years who was grafted physically to the couch, and her family watched her crap on herself and urinate on herself and kept feeding her the Twinkies.
Yeah, Richard Simmons didn't come save her then? No.
Well, exactly. But where else but in this decadent America could a woman literally blend and physically graft to a couch and her family wouldn't help her? I mean, I don't know. I just see that as kind of analogous of what America's turned into.
It's a good example, I think a very extreme example of where we've come. I mean, could you look back? Let's go look at history. Can you look back?
Well, it's how we keep denying.
Can you look back 50 years ago and find an example like this back in the 50s? Can you see a 480-pound woman being glued to her couch in excrement back in the 50s? I don't think so. I mean, this is a case of the new society, the new social engineering that we have, and she's, I think, a good example of what we become.
Well, that's the power of this television that they don't want us to have access to. They're trying to shut down right now, flooding this with Department of Education and Defense Department programs to get us off the channels.
Yeah, I mean, this again, a good example, 480-pound woman. You wouldn't have read that story. You wouldn't have seen that 50 years ago, 10 years ago.
4'8". But the point is that that's what America's become. We have all this insanity, but we've incrementally put up with it. Now, here's something really scary. Internet 2 would act as security buffer for World Wide Web. Now, years ago, and by the way, Internet 2 is having a symposium at the end of September here in Austin, Texas. Internet 2 is a private, corporate-run internet. They'll decide if you get a website. You've got to go ask them for permission. No free speech allowed. No criticism. Total taxation. And Forbes magazine says Internet 1 is going to die. They say that.
Oh, I see Intel on there. They are one of the prime purveyors of this propaganda.
Talk about the name saying it all.
It's going to bust. You know, so many people are on the World Wide Web, so much information. It's going to break, and we've got to do something.
Yeah, and we've got to have corporate regulation and control of free speech and taxation. And you'll go to a university or a government agency, and they'll decide if you get a website, and they're going to tax you. Very expensive to send an email or anything. They're going to fix that spam problem for you. And they're going to meet in Austin at the end of the month, and it's going through. Remember those end-of-the-world signs? Well, Intel Corp says it may be nearer than we think. Expect the signs to say end of the world of the World Wide Web. It's a vision apparently shared by Cisco, Hewlett-Packard, all Skull and Bones or Bohemian Grove, AT&T Corp, all of whom are working feverishly, either together or apart, to serve the World Wide Web. They want to serve it. It says they're going to take it over, and you're going to lose your website, but you might be able to get one with them, and the whole web's going to have to go away now, and we're going to have to tax you to use it. See, Access TV being shut down nationwide, talk radio being consolidated to Neocon, the internet going down, all of this to keep you safe.
Access TV being taken over by AOL, Time Warner, Cult of the Eye. Yeah.
And that's Internet 2 would act as security buffer. They'll handle the problems. And that's Forbes magazine, September 13, 2004 issue on PrisonPlanet.com.
I guarantee you that issue was on the minutes at the Bilderberg meeting. I guarantee you.
Oh, they admit it. We always get leaks of it. No, the war won't be in 02, it'll be in 03. This time it was how to tax or control the net, and whatever we get from our spies inside always turns out to be the case. By the way, Bilderberg doesn't exist. Like 5 years ago, the New York Times says they ordered Kerry to appoint John Edwards. Did they not?
That's a huge issue. When I had Oliver North on, I know you interviewed him, that's everything I brought up that was of some relevance, he would put in the corner of, you must have gotten that on the internet. I mean, they're really scared of what we're doing on the internet. So obviously,
all we do
have
is
to
take
regulate it and control it.
All we do is show their articles disputing each other, show the contradictions.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone get something to eat after this?
Sure.
I'm hungry, yeah.
Sure. Are you guys buying?
Yeah. Hey, will you guys bring the phone box over? Yeah, we're going to take calls later. Let's continue with this, Jackie. Jack's going to punch me if I call him Jackie.
Okay.
Russian suicide, you can call me Lord Jones. Russian suicide hijacker is alive. Passport found at crash site was forged. This is the Moscow Times. Now remember, Putin has been caught blowing up his own buildings in 99. We got whole subsections on that on the websites. Now it turns out that a passport that was official but hadn't even been issued yet, turns out it was fake. Can you tell them about the 9/11 fake passport?
Oh, you mean the one that they found that drifted out through all of the catastrophic explosions onto the streets of New York, that later they had to, in a very private meeting in the back page of some newspaper, had to say was completely fake and that they never found that passport. You mean that one?
And another fake passport was found in Pennsylvania, which they now admits fake because the people are still alive. But you don't remember that. That was in the back of the paper. You remember the big headline, here's the passport. Atta's father still insists his son is alive. Associated Press says the U.S. government Mossad carried out the tax. And I interviewed Stanley Hilton, Bob Dole's former chief of staff, suing the government for $7 million. Has 400 victims' families signed on, NORAD officers. they have the document now where Bush ordered the 9/11 attacks, and they ran these drills on 9/11 to make most of the military stand down and think it was a drill. You want to talk about that?
Well, I have another article about Muhammad Atta's father, and yeah, he has been claiming. In fact, he claimed that Muhammad Atta called him the day after the attacks. Now,
tell you what, Jack, I'm going to let you take about 5 minutes and talk about whatever you want. You get them. Go get them.
So, how about those Red Sox, folks? No. Father of dead terrorists blames Israel for 9/11. How do we do that? Where does it go? There it is. Taipei Times. Father of dead terrorists blames Israel and U.S. for 9/11. I mean, this is kind of in line of the Mordecai Vanunu information that came to light that said that Israel and the Mossad were involved in JFK. Now, again, we don't want to get into being anti-Semites here, certainly. And there's going to be motivations. There's obviously motivations where everyone is involved. Very interesting stuff from Muhammad Atta's dad. I like that. But, you know, if the time is mine, folks, I'm going to take it. Pinellas deputy makes first local arrest with recognition system. Facial recognition. That's right, folks. And what are the arguments here? Well, Pinellas County sheriffs in Florida deputy used facial recognition software to identify a woman who used a fake name. Now, the issues here are she gave a fake name, but again, the ACLU is coming to the rescue, and they're saying, well, you know, there could be potentially misidentification here. There could be possible misidentification. In other words, it could be me when it's you. But in reality, it's your Fifth Amendment right. No one is mentioning Fifth Amendment right. And I'm not sure about you. I certainly do not want facial recognition in Florida. It's in the police cars. It is embedded in their computers. They have a laptop computer. While you're sitting there, they can actually punch through everything that you're doing and match it to your facial recognition. I think that's very important. Folks, Iraqi women and children being used as pawns. I want you to call in to your favorite neocon talk show host, and I want you to try to bring up this subject. And I want you to keep track of your results. The results will be that you will be called anti-American, you will be called one of the terrorists, you will be called a traitor to your country. This is the question. Should there be no rules? I mean, according to the Bush administration, according to Rumsfeld, according to the Pentagon, we should be able to do anything necessary to quell, quote, terrorism. Using Iraqi women and children as pawns to capture insurgents. And, of course, these Iraqi women and children become play toys and conditioning PSYOPs tools for the troops in Iraq. You know, these are innocent civilians. They are caught up in the middle of a sovereignty issue, which we will consider to be Iraq. Iraqi women and children being used as pawns to catch terrorists.
Well,
it's a good thing.
Well, they put most of the Baathists back in power, and one of the Army's own reports 3 months ago said that 70 to 90% of those arrested taken to any one of the 32 camps, forget Abu Ghraib, don't have their papers in order, and that, yes, they tortured the children in front of their parents. Now, that's the Army General's own report. It's another report, 2 reports. Is this the freedom? I thought Saddam...
No, but if we call in to the neocon talk show host and we say, hey, we're not for innocent Iraqi women and children being used as pawns to catch these insurgents, which there's a doubt if they even are insurgents, then we're going to be called by the talking heads as being unpatriotic, un-American, because we should be able to do this to catch the terrorists.
That's right. Saddam was bad because he tortured people, and we did put him in power. He did do that. And now the same people have been put back in power, minus Saddam, and it's suddenly good. This is double thing. Here's an article out of the Miami Herald. Russia's worst enemy may be its own police. Long rampant with bribery and corruption, Russia's police and military are suspected of opening the door to terror attacks in the name of profit. And then it goes into, Putin really is blowing up his own buildings, and Putin really is behind all that. And that's the Miami Herald. Here's another one. Europe sets deadline for Iran on weapons, and they're saying they're going to go ahead and start nuking Iran to get the new draft in. That'll be something nice. Any comments, Jack?
Oh, well, nuke Iran for sure, and nuke everybody that has nukes. The problem with that is that everybody's getting nukes. What do you think?
And Israel has 400. And by the way, while our government says we've got to have global government to counter the spread of weapons of mass destruction, that's their pretext, they're busy arming everyone. Israel, the U.S., England has been caught arming Iran. Why would Israel arm Iran, Jack?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I guess because there are no countries, there are no borders, and that the same people that run Israel run Iran. I mean, I'm just taking a shot here, Alex. I could be way off base.
Problem, reaction, solution. Out of a global war, they get their new world order. Here's PrisonPlanet.com with a CBC report. The hyperlink to the original story is right there, where my pinky's at. And this says, Canadian journalist kidnapped by al-Qaeda group after being handed over by Iraqi police. Our comment, more evidence that these hostage takers are largely CIA Arabs, a term we coined. And it says Halifax, Canada. Canadian military writer and publisher Scott Taylor is safe after being held captive for 5 days in Iraq. The problem is he was held by the U.S. government. Taylor, who was abducted last Tuesday night in the town of Talafar by an unknown group of men, was released early Saturday. He told CBC News he and a Turkish journalist were taken by police and told to get in a car with some masked men. Must be good police officers. He said he was turned over to a group linked to al-Qaeda. The newspaper columnist and publisher of the military magazine, Esprit de Corps, said he was tortured and beaten, and it goes on and on. The same thing happened with Nick Berg. He's in
Paul Johnson.
All of them. They're in U.S., FBI, or other custody. They're released to al-Qaeda and have their heads cut off. And Nick Berg admittedly had computers and passwords with two hijackers and was hanging around at air bases in Oklahoma with him. Obvious CIA, folks. He goes and gets his head cut off after the FBI releases him to al-Qaeda. How much more obvious does it have to get?
Yeah, Paul Johnson going through a checkpoint. There are Saudis with, insurgents with Saudi police uniforms, and they capture Paul Johnson and behead him. They never found his body.
And then the war's good.
And that story actually reminds me, kidnapped journalists, that reminds me of what we went through in New York City.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger, whose father was a Nazi, who says he loves Hitler, who loves Kurt Waldheim, top Nazis, campaigns for him for president of Austria. This guy goes, when I was growing up in Austria, we were afraid that checkpoints could not look the police in the eyes. It was a total police state. You could disappear in the night. Meanwhile, we're outside watching AP reporters, American Spectator reporters, conservative liberal being arrested, giant checkpoints, can't turn a camera on anywhere in the city. It's martial law, sound wave cannons. Well, that was freedom, wasn't it, Jack?
Yeah, that's a great parallel that you drew, because inside, that's right, all of the Stepford Republicans who are crying. I'm watching these people crying.
We love you, Arnold. You're anti-gun, anti-border, anti-America. We love it.
Stepford Republicans. Meanwhile, outside, citizens are losing their First Amendment rights. And also, what I thought was rather interesting was the protesters from the left didn't want to see people in suits, didn't want to see people arguing, conservative issues.
They were balkanized because we were wearing congressional press passes. We would be attacked, spit upon, and 2,000 of these people were put in a camp, many of them innocent, folks.
This is what I reported on at the DNC in Boston. Massive groupthink, though, controlled paradigm, controlled opposition. But it is the same. They are the same people. All Stepford Americans.
What I want to do is scan through a few other stories, let you get to those, then we'll go to some calls, Jack. And again, Jack's website's jackblood.com. My websites, of course, are Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. And now we've relaunched Infowars.net, revamped Infowars.net. Be sure and check it out. All right. Florida deputy makes first arrest with facial recognition system. And now, again, these face scanning systems, the argument was, do they work? Well, don't worry. They fixed the problems now. And they're going to be face scanning all of you to buy and sell, of course. It's going in the grocery stores. And this is all part of the new national ID card the 9/11 Commission has called for that's already been implemented through your driver's license. Jack?
Well, as I said when you went out, the ACLU is crying that there could be mistaken identity, though they're not saying anything about your Fifth Amendment right to incriminate yourself.
Or Fourth Amendment.
Either one. Take your pick. So, of course, the ACLU is always out fighting for us, though I've seen several cases just in the last week where the ACLU went to bed and fell asleep.
Deliberately drops the ball.
Yeah.
Loyal opposition, controlled opposition. Ridge, terrorists hope to disrupt election. He's back out again saying it when his own agents have admitted they've been ordered to issue fake terror alerts to, quote, create hysteria. That's like if you or I yelled fire in a theater, Jack, we should go to jail, but these guys don't.
Hammerhead.
Yeah, he is like Frankenstein. This guy is terrorist hope to disrupt the election. So the 9/11 appointed election commission by Bush says we may need to suspend it. Whatever the terrorists say, they agree. The terrorists want to destroy our freedoms, so the government wants to destroy our freedoms.
Well, it's twofold. They might hold off the election if they need to. They might call martial law on November 1st, though they're waiting for all the big policy stuff like the sunset on the assault weapons ban. They're waiting for all of this stuff till after the election.
And the national draft. Here's an article that Paul Watson and myself wrote for PrisonPlanet.com. War games were cover for operational execution of 9/11. It is admitted that 5 separate drills on the morning of 9/11 were run, 24 different blips, the government admits it, of simulated hijacked jets, including drills of them flying into the World Trade Center and Pentagon. Jack, what's the chance of an exact drill happening on 9/11 and the exact same thing happening? Well, number one, this is so NORAD would stand out and think it was a drill, but this also disproves their official story that the government had never heard of a plan to fly jets into buildings. Well, then how were they running drills that morning of it happening? We have the documents. They carried this out, and they remote controlled those aircraft. The Arabs that were on board were CIA/FBI, thought they were part of a simulation. That's why when actor James Woods was on this plane to L.A. and saw 5 guys casing it, he went and told the FBI, and they said, we'll arrest you if you tell anybody what you saw. This a week before 9/11. Comments?
Blatant coincidence theory. That's all I have to say. It's a blatant coincidence theory.
Total coincidence.
Yeah.
Just so happened
Several
to be
drills running on 9/11.
5 drills, one of exact jets flying into exact
3,000
buildings.
people die. You know, our entire life changes. It's a coincidence.
I agree with him. It is. Go back to sleep. Everything's fine. Monday Night Football, folks. They put in these millions of cameras, and it's now over 1.5 million. England has 3 million total, 3.5 million, excuse me. It's hard to get these numbers straight. Now they admitted all these traffic cameras really are for terror and crime. Here's an article. Mayor outlines elaborate camera network for city to fight terror and crime. And, of course, every time we catch cops doing something bad on the city camera, they refuse to release it. Comments, Jack?
Well, the cops are good, and we're bad. We need to be punished. Of course, the problem is that a lot of these police who think that they're going to be on the right side of the New World Order are going to end up in jail or, I guess, in jail for thought crimes like many other political prisoners around the country. Now, you're listening, if you're in the police, I mean, this could be you. We could be you. The political prisoners that I know right now, I talk to Alex all over the country who are in jail, deep in jail for thought crimes, political prisoners who haven't been charged, who haven't been to trial, who have had no lawyers. Again, but this is the new freedom, as you like to say.
Oh, there's actually a New Freedom Initiative. I've been saying for 5 years, this is part of your New Freedom. Bush came out with a TMAP program that started in Texas. Every high schooler at Anderson High School, when I was a senior back in 92, they hooked electrodes up to your heads or had you sit in front of a computer and ask questions. Parents weren't asked to go to the zoo. You have to sign a waiver, or the planetarium. But to do this, you're not.
Yeah, I went to the website today for the New Freedom Initiative.
New Freedom.
The new Freedom Czar. They have another czar, I guess. I couldn't even interpret it. It was so Orwellian.
And it says Bush's new medical screening plan evokes memories of Clockwork Orange. But the New Freedom Initiative says every child and every adult will be forcibly psychologically tested twice a year. Antipsychotic drugs will be administered, all the ones that their patents are still in force. And here's another one. Glaxo faces lawsuits from U.S. parents over Paxil. They admit they covered up the fact that it increases suicide by 15%, is very toxic, is actually a psychotropic. Glaxo faces lawsuits from U.S. parents over Paxil. And we have 10 million kids on it, upwards of 20 million adults, and the government wants to force us on it because they love us. Its molecules are almost identical to methamphetamine and PCP. But so what? We'll SWAT team you for having that if it's not authorized, but if we're going to force you on it, it's good. Comments?
Yeah, I have a story on my site right now. A guy killed his grandparents on Zoloft.
Every mass shooter's been on it.
I mean, you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's fine, though. Again, it's very reminiscent. It's very clear.
Brave New World.
Julian Huxley, Aldous Huxley. I mean, they knew what they were talking about. It is going
Julian
to be
Huxley, the first head of UNESCO at the UN, which Bush just signed back onto.
Right. I mean, but what do they say? Take a soma if you get, you know, That's okay. Go to sleep, America. That's right. Well, you're going to get the comforts that you deserve, that you have asked for. Ultimately, though,
The comfort you've demanded is now mandatory.
that's it.
And here's the maybe you can back up so we can see this. We've got the Skull and Bones candidacy, guys that have sworn an oath to each other. They openly worship Lucifer. It's even mainstream news now. This is part of the Christian conservatism. And so there you have. Remember, the lesser of two evils is still either considered alternative. Well, my whole point on this issue, Jack, is that presidential elections are a diversion. It's county and city and state. It's fighting with the Access TV board. It's getting involved. It's educating your neighbors. If we at the cellular local level unplug from the mainstream television, get involved, get informed, there's nothing the globalists can do.
No, that's a losing battle for them, which is why they have to keep us literally hooked in. In fact, I think there's a new invention. I went to MIT. I worked on several inventions. I know there's a new invention out there where you can watch TV inside your head. You can get the microchip, and you can get 1,000 channels. So,
by the way, a lot of adults are saying, hey, we should all take chips. What do you have to hide? It's in the newspapers every day. Let's all take chips. We're weird because we warned you beforehand Pentagon plans to do this and how they'd use PR and media to do it. And now it's happening, and we're still bad.
Five years ago, you were considered a kook for saying that there's going to be a microchip, and you're right. Now it's been confirmed. They're out there. They're pitching this. They're selling it, and you got to pay for it. That's the beauty.
And we
of
had the Pentagon documents saying they use PR and it's for the children and security before they did it. We're bad.
They'll add it onto your credit card. It'll be another $40 a month to track yourself and monitor yourself.
Well, all your cell phones, October 1st, 2001, are satellite tracked and monitored. The TiVo boxes all watch what you do and create.
They can listen to your cell phone. In fact, you literally have to wrap your cell phone in foil if you don't want to be listened to while it's off.
Yeah, even if it's off, you take the battery off. And the TiVo machines, the Scientific Atlantic, Time Warner cable boxes, have a microphone in them. It's admitted. I've had them at my house going, yeah, let's here's the owner's manual. There really is a chip. I didn't believe you. There really is a microphone. And did you know they take this data and sell it and do it? And they go, do they have someone physically listening to me? No. It's a computer building a psychological model off of you. This is how far gone. This is the 480-pound woman in her own excrement in the couch. That's what America has become. We're so in denial. We've been there so long. We think it's normal to be sitting in these piles of affluent.
What did you say to Connie Time Warner when she said that they couldn't track how many viewers they had to any given channel?
And I said, your Scientific Atlantic cable box tracks that. And the commission goes, yeah, that's true. They all knew. Here's the 9/11 Commission wants no-fly list expanded to ships, to trains. Well, I saw Ridge 2 years ago on C-SPAN say to have a job, your driver's license is going to have to be checked out that you can have any job. This is the new freedom. But don't worry, if you've got bad credit and are off the list, you go serve 10, 20 hours a week. Voluntarily, they make your credit good. The government pays it off, but you've got to slave for them. This is an admitted plan. They're racing ahead with it.
Last I checked, there were 5 million people on the no-fly list, so that can be transported to buses and trains. Yeah.
Exactly, and then to have a driver's license. U.S. assault gun ban ends. This is a victory because the assault weapons ban was going after semi-automatic shotguns, everything. They're now losing that fight, and this shows we can reverse things if we can stop the electronic touchscreen systems from going in. Jack, any comments before we go to these calls?
No, let's go to the calls.
That's been fast and furious.
Man, it's worse than a U.S. Open volley. I think you won, but
no, I didn't.
We'll ask the listeners.
You did an absolutely fabulous job. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, what perfect timing. You just said something about an electronic touchscreen voting machine. Your esteemed county clerk from Travis County, Dana Day Beauvoir, 2 weeks ago went down to the Travis County court, and she was wanting a raise, and her reason for getting a raise or for asking for a raise was that she's brought in all these partners in these electronic voting machines, and she's done a good job for the company. That's what she said. They gave her a 20% raise from $77,000 to $95,000 a year.
What did they call the law firm in the Pelican Brief, the company?
I don't remember.
What else is the company called? By the way, the CIA publicly runs the 3 big voting machine companies. Former directors, deputy directors run it. The other big ones run by the former head of the NSA. Another big one's owned by Clear Channel, who runs their own candidates on machines they own. But again, we shouldn't care about that, and we shouldn't need to have a record of how we voted. We're conspiracy theorists. We're bad. We send election monitors to make sure there's not frauds in the third world, but we're not allowed to monitor here. I think that's good, and I think you're bad.
Yeah, and the county does not just slap out 20% raises to county employees.
Well, Dana Dubois is the only person that votes in Travis County.
That's right.
She was caught 6 years ago, double counting ballots, falsifying safety seals and signatures. That was in the paper.
Well, to me, basically, what she was saying, it was time for her to be paid off for the good job she's done for the company.
Well, I think the company, as a mechanic, putting a hit on voting, I think she's done a good job.
Yeah, there's never any candidates, though. This is the problem. They control who gets up to being actually candidates, and then they control the voting. So, I mean, they've got it rigged from both sides.
They do. Caller on the air. Go
Hello?
ahead. Yes.
Am I on?
Yes.
Okay, dude, I love your show. I got something to ask you. Do you remember when you talked about the mercury and those shots they gave us before we go to school?
They've actually increased it 250 times.
Okay. When I went to go get my shots, do you know that big building in North Austin that has the giant football on it and all that?
No.
All right. When we were taking our shots, they wanted information on us, our social security number and everything like that. And
Yeah, because they get $4,000 a year off you,
Yeah.
and there's no law to take a shot to go to school, sir. They all have the waiver, and they know it, and they lied on the news. Why in the hell did you take those shots?
Wait, dude, here's the thing.
Why did you take the IQ reduction?
Well, dude, they made us. They told us if we didn't.
They told us we're black, so we're slaves. They can go to hell!
Dude,
Damn it! You know what? Every state has the waiver. It is not the law. I am sick of it. They put TV ads up everywhere saying you had to, and that was a fraud, and that should show you how bad the statesman and the media is.
Hey, man, I got a letter from one of my listeners. His apartment complex wanted proof of ID. They said it was from Homeland Security. When he checked, the Homeland Security had nothing to do with it. It was just something that the apartment manager wanted to do. So
And it's more. They make
checked.
Now all over apartments go, we have to inspect your house now, and they bring the police through your apartment. Folks, this isn't America.
Oh, the police
It is. We had to get a law passed last legislature, okay, saying it's illegal for them to tell you it's illegal to not have shots.
The police are out collecting money for the police fund while they look in your car and conduct an illegal Fourth Amendment search. I mean,
look, I don't mean to get mad at the caller, but, sir, they made us. No, you sue them when they go, you can't go to school. It's a lie. It's not true. God. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Jack, I saw you on Bob Dacey's The Simple Truth show about a month ago, and you encouraged viewers to talk about the neocons promoting their neocon views, including I saw a woman last week giving support for Putin and his war on terrorism.
Oh, Putin has his own color code. Putin's taking all the rights. Of course, he's behind the terror. Putin's our friend now. The Pentagon says so.
What do you think about Steve Adams running for city council next spring? He was on Texas Frontline 2 weeks ago, or actually for the past 2 weeks he's hosted the show, and he seems very articulate on the issue of illegal alien immigration.
Anybody's better than the establishment candidates. But why, if 90+% of Austinites were against more, the country has 7,000 miles of toll roads. Austin's going to have 6,000. Toll roads, to leave my house, I'll have to get on 2 toll roads. Everyone's against it, liberals and conservatives, but Will Wynn goes, I don't give a damn what you think. I've got the voting machines. Go ahead, caller.
Alex, can you hear me?
Yes.
I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about. First of all, I was at a movie premiere at the Texas Union last night. It was a movie called Unconstitutional. And after the movie, it was a pretty good movie. You know,
Robert Greenwald. The Democrats are going to save us. The Republicans are evil. Instead, both sides are controlled by the same people.
Right. Well, there was a gentleman who stood up in the question and answer session, and that's what I wanted to talk about. He basically got up and he said, you copied Alex Jones and this and that, and for all those people out there who watch your show and they get excited about what you have to say and they want to channel their energy somehow. There's better ways to go about talking to people who need to be told about what's really going on. You need to start an intelligent dialogue.
Let me just tell you something, sir, and I appreciate your call. you know what? As long as somebody does something,
That's right.
even if it's half-ass or wrong or whatever, just getting up and fighting.
That was
I don't care if you're like, ugh. I mean, the point is getting involved, doing it every day, waking up and hitting them hard, lining up and winning the ball game. That's what matters. Let's stop picking at each other about how we do it.
Well, yeah, first of all, that was a great opportunity last night, and I've interviewed Robert Greenwald before. He did Outfoxed. He did.
You told people to go down there and expose that they're not telling the whole story.
That's right.
Kerry isn't going to save you. Kerry's for the war. Kerry's for the open borders. Kerry's for the gun control.
But I want to say this. I don't want people to get out of control because we're smart, we're intelligent, we know the facts. We can be like salesmen. I mean, a salesman.
No, I agree. We
a
should be good
salesman
about it.
analyzes the prospect.
I'm not going to criticize
he
somebody
profiles
for getting involved.
That's right. No, you don't want to criticize. Get involved any way you can. But if you are intelligent enough and you can use the information that we have, Alex, you can profile these people like prospects, and you could use their information against them. You do this all the time. And you can actually convert these people. And I always recommend that you let them go ahead and tell you the company line. You tell them what the government has indoctrinated into them. But you beforehand negotiate a deal where they have to sit down and give you equal time. And in that equal time, they could show 911 Road to Tyranny. They could show George Humphrey's movie or whatever they want to do and get their point across. So it's almost like a sales pitch. It's almost like a business negotiation when you're negotiating for what? To let these people think for themselves. I mean, what are you selling them? What are they buying? They're buying freedom. I mean, you shouldn't have to sell it to them,
No,
but
exactly.
that's where we're at.
But the double think is the psychological decision that we know this is true, but let's deny it because it's too scary. Go ahead, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call tonight.
You bet.
Alex, I live at Breaker and Metric, and there's the big Albertsons on Breaker and Lamar.
There's also a nuclear power plant that no Austinite seems to know about down the street from you. Do you know about
Really?
the nuclear power plant?
Where?
J.J. Pickle Center.
That's what that is?
It's quite large. Yeah, it's a nuclear power plant.
Oh, geez, I didn't know that.
That's why they want me off the air, because I tell you there's a nuclear power plant in Austin. It's one of the major reasons.
God. Wow. The Albertsons
Got
at Breaker and Lamar
another illegal one at UT downtown.
downtown.
Yeah, it's been there for 30 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's good information.
Yeah, but we're conspiracy theorists. These are nuclear power plants.
Not to mention all the bio-testing that's going on a block from your house.
Level 4 biotesting. We're talking, Resident Evil type stuff. But I'm bad because I tell you about it. Just go watch the UT Horns.
Well, sure, of course. And I've been watching you for like 2-3 years, and I remember 3 years ago you were talking about the no checkers at the grocery store at HEB. They were going to do it. Albertsons or Breaker and Lamar already has it. There's only one checker in the store all the time.
Hey,
There are 4 or 5 lanes that are all
I
self-serving
go to
now.
Home Depot late at night. There's no one there. They go, love it or leave it. They're going to phase it out. It's all about control.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 people I've seen work the one check station at that Albertsons. There's one with a person in it that checks you out. All the others are self-serve.
Don't
and not
do
only
it.
is that
Wait
bad,
in line when you fill out the card for the customer service card. Okay, just put anonymous customer. Put a line through everything. Sign an X for your name. When they tell you they need more information, ask them why, and then take your card. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's the point is the new national ID card's going to come in there with a sales tax, and there's going to be no checkers, just a guy with a machine gun going, Homeland, got a problem? Homeland, shut up, we're taking care of you.
I should
we're keeping you safe,
I should
boy.
say don't shop at stores that give you cards, but if you have to, don't give them information to data mine you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, Jack, how do you feel about illegal alien immigration? And if you oppose it, do you have any solutions to the problem?
I love it. I want more illegal immigrants because 4,000 a day that come over. I'm hoping it gets up to 30 or 40,000 a day. I want them all to come to Texas. Obviously, I'm being facetious. Arab terrorists crossing border right here, WorldNet Daily. But this, I'm sure, is being planted out in the media to let us know that there are multiple cells coming in here right now. No, obviously, look, I'm a second generation, Alex, second generation. That's as long as my family has been in this country from Ireland. And I'm all for people being able to have legal immigration, to do this by the law, and to contribute to this country. I'm just talking to somebody out in the hall before we came on the air, and I'm hearing about people who are being prosecuted with a civil suit for shooting aliens coming across their border, not shooting them, detaining them, handing them over to the proper authorities.
But they're prosecuting like they're shooting them. But, I mean, let me add something to this. There's 6,300,000,000 outside this country. They all want to come here. They'll work for 20 cents a day. At Ellis Island, they did screening for tuberculosis. They don't now. And the point is, New York wants this. The big banks want this. They have said, Bush has said, exporting jobs is our number one export. It's good. Fast food jobs are high tech. If you like what's happening economically, you're going to love the free trade area of the Americas. Ron Paul on my radio show Friday said that it is global government. They're going to have a capital in Miami or Atlanta, and it's the end of America. They just voted to merge Social Security with Latin America. It's all happening.
Hey, when I interviewed Gray Davis and Jerry Brown, Governor Jerry Brown, now mayor of Oakland, they both tried to give me this when I gave them the immigration story, that these guys are doing the jobs that you guys don't want to do. They're getting roofing jobs for $12 an hour. You guys don't want those jobs, right? And when I called their bluff on that, they had to change their story. So this is their talking point, Alex.
Well, the point is that they say the layoffs to high tech are going to get Congressional Budget Office last year 7 times worse in the next 5 years. And they say this is good. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex, listen, I was there last week at the meeting, and I was the guy in the green shirt that was nervous and said, hey, I don't think I'm going to have a heart attack when I go up there and talk. I handed you that handout about that expanded tax break if you pay for an airplane $200,000.
Yeah, the elite all has it where they don't pay much taxes. And I want to commend you for coming to the meeting to defend Access TV.
Hey, it was a powerful night, Jack. I saw you there. It was great. It was absolutely wonderful. Listen, yesterday I went to the comptroller's office and picked up about 6 copies of the CAFR 2003.
For those that don't know, that's not a South African racial slang. The Comprehensive Annual Financial Report is the real public set of books that all the people in government really know about, how the government's running giant surpluses and owns the stock market. Go ahead and comment on it.
Listen, I am talking to as many people as I can. You know what? I'm really surprised at the responses that I'm getting from some of the people. They're actually responding, and they're actually talking back to me. I got I know an accountant, and I'm going to. I told him to study this book and to look at surplus and compare it to deficit. And I wish you had a copy of that with you, Alex, because I wanted you to point to me to the 2003 page. I want to know exactly where this is. It's a pie chart, and it says revenue. Is that what we need to be looking for?
Yeah, all of it. We're almost out of time, but for folks, let's say Jack makes $2,000 a month, but Jack tells his wife that, honey, we only have $100 budgeted, and the whole world is budgets, budgets, budgets. We talk about budgets. We never talk about the $1,900 he's doing something else with, or same thing with me, whatever. The Comprehensive Annual Financial Report is the real money they have. Water districts, school districts, they've all got plenty of money. And they'll hold off on ambulances and potholes until you pay for more when the corporations are getting the private investment of government. This is really the scam, and it's not free market. And so while it's all about consolidation. It's not free market. It's organized crime. And here's a border sign in L.A. where they brag, the stations. They got stations called Revolution, called The Takeover, whatever, and this particular station.
Appealing to the demographic of the illegal immigrants.
Yeah, it says 100.35, 103.5, so why aren't you laughing? We've added that to the picture. It shows the illegal coming over the fence. But the point is, we're not against these poor illegals. It's the elite doing this to make sure we're a third world slave population.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they've been put in this situation, much like Japan back in World War II was put in the situation to have to attack. I mean, we can't blame these people. Certainly, I don't know if it's our duty to help them, and we're Americans. We have our own problems right now. I guess they could stick up for themselves, Alex. You tell me. But ultimately here, we have to try to protect our country. And while we're losing our rights and the borders are wide open, and there's radio stations. That's a big radio station, by the way, 103.5, as you know.
They have a station in Austin called Invaders.
That's 103.5 is a serious frequency for FM. I mean, that is big time. There's a lot of money. That station is worth multiple millions of dollars, and they're appealing to illegal immigrants for their demographic.
Well, it's more than that. They have stations called The Invader. And you listen to it, it's like listening to a Klan broadcast. What these people don't understand is that you're all run out of New York. This is a Destroy America. Great, have a lot of pride in it, but you're working for the bankers. We're out of time, Jack. It's been a great show. My radio show starts. You can listen to it at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com or PrisonPlanet.tv in about a minute and a half. I had Stanley Hilton on today. I did a little rebroadcast of BBC Report on Skull and Bones. Covered a lot of other news. 9 to midnight, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. They're moving to shut down the net, Access TV, Alternative Talk Radio. You got to support what we're doing. Jack Blood has his own show, 2 to 4 every day. JackBlood.com, great broadcast. Been a guest on it many times. A lot of great guests. And it's so important. We know you're valuing alternative news and information. We know that major university and government studies show 38 to 45% of people have left TV and cable altogether. They're panicking. They know that for their actions, they're getting an equal or greater reaction. They know we're coming up against them, so they're panicking. You got to fire up, stand up, get involved. Half of Americans, and way more than that, know who carried out 9/11. Your guts tell you the truth. America isn't America if we're not free. Jack, closing comments.
You don't trust your government. If you poll most people, they'll say they don't trust their government. They don't trust the mainstream
And it's
media.
patriotic. Our founding fathers
Why are
did.
you believing it? What are you waiting for? Don't be a on-the-porch patriot. Get out there and do something. Account for yourself every day. Be responsible. You're the enemy.
That's right. You're the terrorist. You're the enemy. They're building lots of private prisons for you, lots of camps for you. They're out in the news telling you how great camps are. Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. God bless. We're going to defend Access TV.